All right. Well, welcome everybody to Your Clients Want Your Secret Sauce. Learn how to serve up more than just accounting grits featuring Geni Whitehouse. Hello, I'm Tanya Hilt, CPB, and I'm here because I'm passionate about increasing knowledge. And you can find me at Tanya's Bootcamp, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. Little bit about myself. I'm not going to go through all of this stuff, but let's just highlight the top one. I am a level 5 certified advisor through the Mentor Plus program, under the tutelage of the amazing Miss Geni Whitehouse. And that's kind of why we're here today, to talk about absolutely all the amazing things that Sherry and I both learned from her. You guys can read all the rest. I don't need to go through that. A little bit about Geni. So Geni believes there's magic in numbers, and she is on a mission to empower more accountants and bookkeepers to be magicians by forming deeper connections and delivering high value services to their clients. A former CPA firm partner and software company executive, Geni now divides her time between working as a winery consultant at Brotmarkle, Davis and Code. I pronounced that right? Okay. In the Napa Valley, and writing, speaking, and tweeting at evenanerd.com. She teaches accountants to become advisors via her newest venture, the Impactful Advisor, which is built on the online level 5 training system created by Edie Osborne at Mentor Plus. And we also have special guest, Sherry Lee Mathers, who is my work spouse, or my no buddy, as we're calling it. And for those who haven't heard the term no buddy yet, it's no buddy, BUDDY. So if I need to say no and I'm up for client or something, and I need somebody to help me say no, I call her and she makes me say no. She's my no buddy and I'm her no buddy.
But if you need some knowledge, it's no, KNOW.
Exactly. So today we are KNOW buddies with Geni. So a little bit about Sherry Lee. She's a CPB Canada 2021 Professional Leader of the Year. That was just a couple of weeks ago. Yay! Congratulations.
Thanks, Sherry.
Level 5 certified advisor through Mentor Plus, because we took the course together. Insightful Accountant Top 100 Pro Advisor, 4 years running. So you guys can read the rest. I will just fast forward through this. And that was all for this. Now there is going to be, this is eligible for CPD credits, and this is going to be conversational. And if at any point that we feel we want to bring other people in, we can do so. If you've got a, maybe once we're kind of through this, if you've got a little bit of a question, raise your hand and we can happily bring you in to ask the question. So that way, you can interact a little bit, because this is, again, more of a conversational webinar and we want it to stay nice and chill and relaxing. So there are 2 poll questions that must be answered in order to qualify. I'm going to launch the first poll question right now. And so that is, which is better, grit or polenta? Your answers are grits, polenta, or neither. I prefer poutine. So I've never tried grits. I don't know what polenta is. So I would say poutine for me. But what is polenta, Geni? Is it a US thing? Is it a California thing?
Basic ingredient is ground cornmeal. And for grits, most people know that Southern grits are just kind of watery cornmeal, and polenta tends to be thicker. Sometimes the Italian folks make it. It's also served in multiple other countries and often mixed with milk, but can also just be water. But if you go to the store to try to find grits in California, you have to call them polenta because they don't know that they're the same thing.
Gotcha. Very interesting.
You're an expert on polenta versus grits. And I make grits that are with cheese and in a casserole dish, and I have to bring them everywhere I go in California because people like them. They're not just watery stuff.
Okay, so next time that we're down there, we'll expect for you to bring some grits so that we can try some real grits and not the stuff that I'm afraid to try in restaurants. Yeah. The real stuff. Awesome. Okay, so we have almost everybody has answered. So we're going to do a quick countdown. So 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I am ending the poll, and here are the results. So 21% grits, 11 polenta, and 68 poutine, or as we call it, it's supposed to be poutine. I call it poutine as well because that's how it's said. But if you're French, it's poutine.
So did I spell it right? You see, I put SP question mark.
Yep. Oh, that's what that SP question mark.
Is the spelling right? Poutine.
I just copied and pasted. Yes, the spelling is perfect. Yes.
Okay. Okay. I didn't put an accent in there anywhere.
No, that's perfect. Okay.
So this whole topic, and thank you, Sherry Lee. Sherry Lee made me jazzify the title and reminded me that I should put grits in the topic. But this whole topic came from, well, first of all, when I moved to California from Atlanta, Georgia in 2004, I went on a search for grits, and I had to ask the people in Whole Foods for polenta because they didn't know what I was talking about. And I had to go tell them, you know, those things you call polenta, those are grits. So next time a redneck like me comes in, you can direct them to the polenta bin in the back of your store. And ever since I moved to California, I've been making fun of polenta because there's a fancy highfalutin restaurant out here that had something on the menu called polenta under glass, and they charged $15 for it. And so I made a bunch of fun of them and said, you know, grits are grits, y'all. And I don't care if you put truffle salt on them or put them under a fancy jar, they're still $2 a piece. But when I went, the last time I was at Scaling, which I think was 2019, the last time we had real live events, I was thinking about that whole concept, and I went, you know what? If I could get away selling my $2 grits for $15 by good marketing, then maybe they're the smart ones and I'm the dummy, because maybe I should start calling stuff polenta. And then that made me think about, that's what we need to do as accountants. And when I say accountants, I'm including, I think bookkeepers are accountants. Accountants are everybody who does stuff.
Professionals. We are accounting
so
professionals.
I don't think bookkeepers are, they're in that category. Bookkeepers are exceptional accountants in my book. So accountants are number people. So I'm including everybody when I say that. So, but we as accountants, as bookkeepers, as people that do numbers work, sell ourselves as grits, and we get the low value instead of communicating the exceptional skills that we have and what we do differently, which would entitle us to be billed like polenta. So my whole speech was about polenta versus grits. And I showed the chef, there's a video that chef made about polenta, and he explained that the mushrooms were harvested from some valley in some place, and the salt came from this, and the cornmeal was freshly ground in some Rocky Mountain high somewhere. And he listed all of these ingredients to justify the fact that this is some special gourmet meal. And then I compared that to the instant grits in a box, which is how we price and position ourselves many times. So it actually became, I had to turn my own example on its head and really start thinking about, you know, that they got it right. We should make it seem more exceptional than what we do. And most bookkeepers that I talk to, and I ask them what they do, it breaks my heart because they say, I'm just a bookkeeper. And that's not true. You are a bookkeeper. You're keeping the wheels on the bus for all of our clients, your clients. Without us, there's no business, or they're screwed up businesses, or they're people who can't get their taxes done, or they don't know what they have in the bank or anything else. So we are amazing bookkeepers. We are amazing accountants. We are amazing people who need to be charging like we're polenta and not just dumb old grits that you can buy in a box for $2 and they taste like sawdust. So that's really the message. And so what Sherry Lee reminded me is that, you know, we need to think about the special sauce that we bring to the work we do. And we need to price for that. And we need to offer more than just the run-of-the-mill instant accounting grits that many other folks are offering. So Sherry Lee, you want to add to that, or you guys want to?
I think you're 100% right on that. That's exactly how, as we position ourselves and as we learn more. So for me, this past summer here in BC, we had subsidies, grants. And yes. So I went through asking questions, not just what are you going to do with this money? How are you going to help your recovery? But asking those questions, what are you doing well? What can you do better? What do you want your business to be when COVID's over, and how can this money support you to get there? And everybody was like completely, oh. It's a whole different, and they just look at, I think they looked at me differently than just, I'm just going to tell you this here. This is what I want. I want to buy, because I work mainly with breweries. I just want to buy a canning machine because we need to can. And It was, okay, so let's look at this. When COVID's over, how much canning are you going to do? now that every brewery in BC is canning and the shelf space is low, is that the investment you want? So, you know, and that's just it. That's that sort of secret sauce of both knowing the industry, but just asking more. And it, you know, when we first started with you, you were saying as soon as you start asking those questions, they're going to perk up. And yeah, clients just don't stop talking. Oh, I want to do this and I want to do that. And well, I thought that my son would become a brewer, but he's not interested. And as soon as they realize they can't, you know, just drink all the beer for free. And anyways.
I think it's also, you know, important. A lot of people still think that what we do is data entry. It's extremely important that people who do data entry do not understand what they are entering.
That's right.
That is a huge thing. I used to think that, oh yeah, what we used to do back in the old days, it was data entry. It wasn't data entry, it was more like data entry. We still had the understanding, but we couldn't strut our stuff as well when you're working with, you know, information that's, you know, up to 90 days old, right? But when you work with current clients, get the current information, dig in, get them to realize that we are their partners, that we have this knowledge, that we can help them, you know, that's different. But even, like I say, even at that data entry, people do not understand what they are entering. We absolutely understand that. We understand the repercussions and, you know, a full 360 picture of all of that and how it connects to so many other parts of their business, right? All the moving parts of their business.
So Tanya and Sherry Lee finished the cohort training, the level 5 advisory training that I offer from Mentor Plus. And when did you guys finish? In August? July?
That was spring. Wasn't it?
I think it was spring.
It's gone by.
That's because we keep meeting with you.
Well, that's true, because we're still doing stuff for the class and keep going.
We told you, yeah, we told you you weren't allowed to get rid of us.
But I think you will both agree that one of the main things that you learned in this course was that it is not our job to have all the answers. Do you agree with that? Is that true? True statement? I should have that as a thing. And that's where we go astray as advisors, as accountants, as bookkeepers, whatever you want to call us, as people who work with numbers and clients. We think it's our job to tell them what to do based on the numbers that we see. And everything I teach in the course and everything that's written in there is designed to make us rethink that perspective and to really come up with questions for our clients that help them answer their own questions. And the example that I use is if anybody's ever been to a therapist, and I should probably say, if anybody has not been to a therapist, raise your hand, so that we've all been to a therapist in one form or another. And if you went to a therapist and said, you know, I'm unhappy in my marriage, and the therapist just said, well, he's a jerk, get a divorce, then you wouldn't learn anything, right? But instead the therapist says, well, how does that make you feel? And you go through, I don't know, 12 months of counseling to come up with the conclusion on your own that you need to divorce the jerk, right? So that's what, and it has so much more meaning if you figure it out yourself versus somebody coming in and just telling you what to do. And so that's what we do with clients. And we have to learn how to do that. And when we ask questions like Sherry Lee just shared, like, what are you doing this for? Why did you become a brewery? Why did you become, in my case, a winery? All my clients are wineries in Napa Valley. Why did you become a shoe store? What is it about this that caused you to invest all your time and your money and your blood, sweat, and tears and give up your family and mortgage your house in many cases to build this business? What is it that motivates you to do it? And when we start asking questions like that, instead of, why do you have no money in the bank? And here's what we need to do in the spreadsheet, which is our natural first inclination, we start to elevate our value. And that's when we go from that base level grits up to whatever you want to call it, something much more above average and valuable to that client. And then we can raise our fees.
Hollandaise sauce.
And I just want to say that why is a powerful question. Like, that is such a powerful word, because when I'm talking to people and I ask them, okay, well, why did you do it this way? Sometimes their answer is, well, because somebody told me to, or because this or because that. And I'm like, no, 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 this is not how you should be doing it. So why is so powerful to help you understand. And again, you can start to dig in deeper and all of that. But even at the most basic questions, why can still give you a lot, because maybe then that, that one, just again, well, why did you set that up this way? Why are you doing that? Maybe there's a better way, but like you say, you have to, I try to insert my own advice and let them pick their advice, so I don't quite follow as much as I'm supposed to, although I'm really, really trying to do that. But yes, that why question is really powerful to help do that.
Yeah, and there are lots of questions like that. And, one of the things, so I moved into Napa Valley. I moved to California in 2004, and I started working with wineries in Napa in 2007. And I moved here from Atlanta, having consumed, crappy wine and not able to pronounce any of the stuff that they're selling out here. And so I was really afraid to work with these folks because I figured, they're going to know I'm a dumb redneck from South Carolina and I don't know anything about wine. But when I embraced the fact that I didn't need to know, that I just needed to be curious about what they were doing and ask questions, I started to realize that there was value in that because I didn't make assumptions. I didn't assume things. And I also was not afraid to ask stupid questions. And that was a benefit. And, again, because I sound like this, they didn't expect me to know. So I think they were more comfortable in not knowing accounting. So it kind of put us on the same level. I know accounting and they didn't, and they know wine and I didn't. And so we both sort of came at it from the same level. And my comfort in not knowing helps me get over the fear of talking about numbers with people who, knew more about their industry than I did. So I think the curiosity that we all have, and, as bookkeepers, as accountants, people who are messing with people's numbers, we have a real opportunity to not just move them around and reconcile them, but to go, why is this so high? Or why do you, 3 months in a row you did this and all of a sudden you didn't? Those are the kind of things that we naturally notice and ask questions about, but we can go way deeper than just what we see in the financial statements and ask questions like, why are you using that software to do that thing? Or why are you doing that on paper? Or why aren't you consider this? Or those kind of questions. And really start adding more and more value to that client and make their lives better.
I'm going to add to what you said there, where you spoke about wineries. So people who don't, I work with breweries, and what a lot of people don't know is I'm allergic to wheat. I don't drink beer. So I walk in and the very first thing, like when I go in, well, the first thing I have to ask is, are you brewing? If you're brewing, I can't go in because it'll trigger an allergic reaction. But when I go in, I can say, okay, I know what everything is on paper and what it does on paper, but can you show me? And I got that from attending one of your conferences. And that just took sessions, as you say, at a conference, that just took that whole icebreaker, bringing us down. But then it also, and I just finished a conversation this morning with somebody, and it was understanding sort of that technical and relating, but also they've been in business for 2 years, but really understanding sort of that level 2 that we learned is their financial fluency. They were saying, well, I really need to know my cost of goods, and you really need to know. And I'm like, as we spoke, I said, I think, so what exactly are you looking for? What are you trying to? Well, I need to make sure that we're charging enough. I said, are you looking at your margin then? I said, here's what your costs are, and here's this, and we can do that. And just that explaining. And so that was sort of that whole second level that I think so many of us do. But it's, again, learning, you taught us to ask those questions and then start to like, okay, so what about some financial fluency here? So we're already speaking about this with how we're going to educate the team to understand. And that's, level 2, right? Level 2. I know. Yes. I got it somewhere. Level 2. Thank you. But having the team understand, and then the owner starts to understand, and when everybody has a bit better understanding of things. And so that's what I said. Does your head brewer know what the margins and what their costs are and what you're aiming for? Do they understand this? Because when you get buy-in, and I can tell you, I wouldn't have had the confidence to go in and ask these questions before. So 2 years ago, I would have just gone, oh yeah, you don't have a good enough margin. And I wouldn't have had that confidence. But going through your program, learning how to evaluate and again, ask those questions. So, and then I can take it right back to the very first thing as we move through this, it'll be, what's your end? What are you looking at? What are you trying to do? So once they understand that, the team understands it, then we start to meet more of those goals.
Well, and just to, add on to that, if you've got, how many businesses do you have? And, everybody out there is going to, be able to confirm as well that the owner of the business doesn't want the left and the right hand to know what they're doing. And it just as you said, Sherry, it's that understanding. The head brewer needs to understand. And, this is where I thought it was great to, involve not just the owner in some of these talks, involve the whole team, because that way they can communicate together and understand, and full transparency, within a lot of that can be so huge, because somebody over here might be working on this problem, over here they're working on this problem, and they're fighting each other instead of a solution to work together. And again, I wouldn't have thought ever to be able to get into that type of advisory. And I just want to say here too, kind of jump back, that advisory, and I know Rondell Corlick said this time and time again, but it didn't actually click in until COVID and until Mentor Plus, is that advisory is not cash flow. Everything ends up, it's all around the numbers. The numbers are involved in everything, but that's not true advisory. And I've been trying for so long to come up and try to bring advisory by doing this, but it just didn't feel right to me. So I never, committed. And then I try something else and try something else with clients, trying to get them there. And it's just a matter of asking those questions and helping them get to those solutions, no matter how simple those solutions might be. When COVID really brought that to light, and then again, I now have the tools to be able to do that and take it a step further with asking those questions. Same thing, is it a people issue or a process issue? Everything boils down, and then break it down, go back. Yeah, okay, what is the core root of the problem? And we can help with that. We have the knowledge to help with that. And that's just that question. I ask that question quite a bit.
Is it a people or a process, as I say, issue, is a golden question. It uncovers, and just asking that, people go, and most of the time they think it's people. And what we know is most of the time it's not, it's processes. So one of the complaints that we all get from owners, we talk to them, is, why don't my people think like I would? Why don't they treat my customers like I would treat a customer? Or why don't they make a decision about this like I would? Or why don't they do something else? And then you say, well, what information do you share with those employees? And they go, nothing. I don't want my employees to know how much I make on this, or something like that. And you go, well, if they had the information you have, then they could make the same decisions that you make and come out with the same result. But without any information, they're shooting in the dark. So you can't expect uninformed people to think the way you would, especially if your decision making is totally undocumented and only resides in your head based on whatever whim happens to strike you in the course of the day. So if you could document what we look for in a client that gets a discount, or what we look for in a new account that we want to accept, or what we look for in all the other things, and we can create systematic processes that people follow, then you're far more likely to have people working the way you want them to. But right now, everybody's running around doing whatever they can do, putting out fires and making a mess, and you're wondering why it doesn't work. Well, you need to look in the mirror, Mr. or Mrs. Owner, and change the way you function.
And not only that, but let's say you've got the wrong person in the wrong job. So let's say they're given the tools and they're still not doing the right thing. So now again, you go back to the process. What's your hiring process? How are you, looking at these people? Maybe again, this is a great person but they're better in a different role in your in your company. But because you just walked off the street, said, oh, they look at presentable, shook their hand and hired them, you don't know that maybe they're not in the best position, or maybe again your hiring needs to be tweaked because maybe you shouldn't have hired them in the first place, which again goes back to processes, and we
One of the
can
things
all
that
help with
no,
that.
And
yeah,
this is all
one of the
secret
things-
sauce.
go ahead. That's the secret sauce. The
But
process.
this is all secret sauce, is learning those things and being able to ask those questions where it's more than here's a financial statement. So sorry, I'm going to backtrack here because I think some of this was the different levels of the program that we went through. Sorry, I'm going to pull us back a tiny bit. So to be able to have these discussions is learning. I don't see anything.
Wait.
Oh, there we go.
Dog screen.
But to start having these discussions, are you sharing or not?
I'm trying. You see the level 5 arrow?
Yep, I see it.
Yeah, there you go. Okay.
So this was, I'm going to say, I've just got a new client and we're finalizing it right now. And this is where the very first, we're in that first level together of, I'm going to restructure his chart of accounts. So he's with somebody, he goes, this is just, it means nothing to me. And I said, what are the questions? And then again, this is learning. After we've gone through, what are you looking for? What do you want to do? And now I'm going to tailor the chart of accounts to actually help him see those answers. And their current chart of accounts has 350 accounts in it, of which I like almost like that's way too many, because they got one for taxis and one for Uber. And I'm like, this is crazy. It's all just travel. I said, do you actually look at those? Why do you have those? Doesn't even make sense to you. So that's part of learning that level 1 technical foundation, and then going through, and again, asking them those questions. So I'm just jabbering there, but it's a great way to, when you're bringing on a client, of not just asking those questions in the beginning, but you also get to know if you're a fit. So I have a client that I did not ask those questions and didn't have that. And so as I have been struggling with this client, I find out that their agreement has written where the wives have no input. So I'm realizing this is a big mistake as a client, and the challenges I'm having are based upon, I didn't ask enough questions in the beginning. So these also help when you're looking at that end in mind, that why. It helps you to understand if they're a good client as well. Now I'll shut up.
So this is a document that's actually part of level 3 that you're seeing now. This is the scope grid, as I call it, which has, there's a bunch of different scope related tools as part of the training program. But this was, to me, a revolutionary way to think about working with a client. And we use it in our firm. So I work in a CPA firm. I have a bookkeeping business. I do a speaking thing, and I have now selling the advisory tools and coaching people through them. So this tool we use in our CPA firm, we use all the advisory tools in the work that I do with winery clients. And this document, if you did nothing else other than just use this in every intake for prospects and use it as a check-in with existing clients to just find out what they're doing across the business. And what we do as accountants, as numbers people, as bookkeepers, again, whatever the category of all of us who screw around with numbers, numbers nerds or numbers magicians, as I like to think of us, what we normally do is just think about what's broken in the financial side. So we go to this one box, the broken stuff, and we could go all day listing all the stuff that doesn't work. And most clients come to us with a big long list of what's hurting or what's on fire or what they're failing at, right? But what we need to do is look beyond just the financial results and think about what's happening in the customer side of the business, the operational side of the business, what's happening with people, and then what's happening in terms of your alignment with whatever it is you're trying to achieve as a business. And those things are going to impact that financial symptom that they're suffering with. So if we don't know about all these other things, then we can't really help them achieve the financial outcome that they want. So it's critical, I think, that we ask this stuff before we start diving in and doing the spreadsheet, which we all know and love, or before we start doing the bank recs, or before we start looking at the chart of accounts, that we really step back and say, I want to understand about your business. And that's the first question that sets you apart from the grits people and puts you in the polenta bucket, because you're asking things that traditional accountants don't ask. And I don't care if they're CAs, CPAs, or bookkeepers. Most people are not asking questions about what these people want from their business, why they're in business. Do they want to hand it off? Do they want to sell it? Do they want to go public? And those answers dictate what we should help them do with the business, because they're very different outcomes based on what you're trying to do. So we ask them what they have done correctly. And this is a huge positive for that person. So let's get them to tell us the stuff they can be proud of and remind them of all the things, especially during COVID, that they were able to do well.
That was the answer I got this morning. Well, what are you doing financially? Like, how are you doing? Well, we sold more than we did last year, and the bank hasn't shut us down.
Huge.
Okay.
You know,
so now what do you want to do better? What do you want to do better? And I didn't prod it. Well, what do you mean? We actually want to be able to sleep at night and be able to know there's enough money to pay the bills. And so I'm like, you have your entrepreneurial crying pillow then, right?
Yeah. And that's where, so we get them to remember what they did well. And if we don't remember the stuff you do right, we can't repeat it next time. So that's a critical piece of this. Let's list all the things that work, because we don't have to waste time on that, but we also can celebrate that and look to add more stuff there next time we get together. And then let's talk about what you're worried about and what's broken and what needs to be fixed. And again, we got a great opportunity in COVID to really stress test everything in our business. Did our software support us in running remote businesses? Did our people show up when we needed them to? Were they flexible enough to adapt to drive-in food service instead of on-site? We're doing virtual tastings where we're doing Zoom winery tastings at wineries. Did you have people who could modify and adapt to that? What did you learn about your people as a result of this crazy environment we're all in? So we had a great opportunity to really look at what needed to be fixed based on what COVID did to us and the requirements of working remotely and all of that stuff. And then we want them to visualize what they really want to see. And we want them to quantify that to the extent they can. So financial, not just cash flow, positive cash flow, but how much? What's the goal there? Do I want to have an increased stock valuation for the business? Or do I want to have equity at a certain amount? Or do I want to have $1 million in the bank? Or what does it look like if I achieve my financial goals on the way to building the kind of business that I want overall, or the legacy that I'm trying to craft, or whatever I'm trying to get to at the end of all this? And so that big picture view is again critical, because right now we tend to look very narrowly at, I need to reconcile the bank. Okay, well, is that the owner's biggest concern? I don't think so. You can reconcile it and show me that I really only have $1 in the bank, but my concern is I want to have $1 million in the bank. So whether it's reconciled or not, it's not serving me to have a low balance. And so our job is to help them figure out what that goal is, and then help them take steps to get there through small actions, measurements along the way, clear mileposts that they can see, so they can tell that they're making progress towards whatever goal it is that they identify. And so this one grid, and if you've ever seen me speak, you've probably seen me use this, because it's just so easy, and you can create one on your own piece of paper. It's not a magical grid by any stretch of the imagination, although it does have my cute little logo up here, so that gives it extra value. But you can do the same thing, but the scope is C. The S is for the $sign, the SCOPE. So it's financial, represented by the dollars, and customers, operations, people, and end in mind. But again, I can't say it enough. Just by pulling this document out and showing your prospective client that you're going to ask these questions before you dive into the transactional stuff is going to make them go, wait, you're doing bookkeeping? You do accounting, right? And they're going to have to confirm that, because they aren't going to believe that you're really a numbers person when you ask this kind of question. And you listen to them. The best thing we can do to somebody to make them feel special is let them tell us their story. And this document pulls that story out from them. And so they feel heard and supported already before you've done anything, except just write down what they say, and then you're going to write it down, and then you're going to mail it back to them in a hopefully typed up or prettier format and say, here's what I heard you say. And then it gives you a door opener to let me see what on here you think is the highest priority, and let's talk about what we can do together to make it better. And then
Yep.
you're an advisor.
And that really shows your value, because really at the end of the day, again, I'd love to know how many out there have had clients, or let's say the opposite, because I would say everybody else out there that's watching would say the same thing. But how many have clients that love when their financials, they're like, yes, I want to see my profit and loss and my balance sheet every single month, and I know exactly what it means. That's not what they care about. They don't care about that. Let's face it. We spend all of that work and put that in. Financiers care about that. Their shareholders will care about that. But at the end of the day, and if they do care about that, I think that they're focused wrong, because what they need to care about is how they get to that.
So the question that one of the most important questions that I ask, and I ask this, I've done a bunch of consulting gigs with winery clients in September. I had a bunch of people calling finally because COVID made them realize they needed help. I went and interviewed leadership in companies, and I would ask each of the leaders who were in charge of things like the sales VP and the HR person, and I would go to each of these leaders and say, how do you know if you're on track? If I were to ask you today, how are we doing? What's your go-to to find out how you're doing? And they couldn't answer it. Now, if you're in charge of sales, and I ask you what you look at to see if you're on track, and you can't answer that, there's a problem. If you have to wait till the end of the month or 3 weeks after the end of the month to get the report that somebody else runs, then you're not managing a sales team. And I had owners in that business standing in front of a conference table with all her leadership team standing in front of her and going and beating her hands on the table and going, why can't anybody tell me what I sold, how many cases of wine, and to whom it was sold right now when I need to know? Because I can't make any decisions. And these are businesses that are running like that. So they're really hurting. Their teams are unempowered. They don't know what to do. And they can't get information out of their system. So one of the huge things we can do for those clients is help them review the systems and look at where data is moving throughout the organization and see why it's getting stuck, and help them unstick it, or at least document the process, because in most cases, they don't know that it's getting stuck at 50 different places. And in one case for this client, it was an investment of $300 that was preventing them from getting the report they needed. And the owner went, and I said, is it worth $300 to get a report? And she's like, yes. But nobody asked because they thought they were supposed to be saving money. So instead, they're spending $1 million on Excel spreadsheets and waiting months to get information out of their system. So these are opportunities for us, especially at the transactional level, to identify things that they're doing that don't make sense. Go ahead, Shirley.
I was going to say, so one of the things I learned from you in here is the finances don't have to be perfect, and that having these questions here of, okay, your operations, being able to have, here is even a draft financial, but being able to have the scope questions here of like, okay, so 3 months ago or a month ago, we were looking at trying to increase our customers. Have we done that? So not just looking at the dollar, but being able to say, are you able to measure and see how many new customers you have? That yes, the dollars are important, but these were the goals we set out. And so how many new customers? They're focused on, have we increased our sales, but how many new customers do you have? Because that customer is repeatable. So those are those things that from the bookkeeping perspective, and that of being down there, of learning and asking these and reminding people that piece of paper, that statement, it's already historical yesterday.
Lagging indicators.
We need to be focusing on what's your 3-month goal. So what are we looking at? Are we focusing on growing? Are you doing this? So right now my clients are focusing on the end of the year and getting enough money, making sure that they're budgeted and enough money to get through January, February, because retail, everything goes down. So the focus is, okay, so how are we going to, it's not just, do we have money in the bank? How are we going to make sure that October, November, December. Do you have your merchandise ordered for Christmas? Have you advertised that you can rent a room? Have you just these little triggers? Most of the clients know it, but just helping them refocus off of that basic bookkeeping, I think, is so important. Tanya, you did a whole bunch of that this summer as well, right?
Yeah. No, but one thing that I wanted to kind of jump back to that is just it's lingering with me. So I've been waiting for that moment to jump in to say this, is that when you said more customers, and you kind of like glossed over it quickly when you said that, but some people think they need new customers, right? The new customers and more new customers to get more sales. And let's face it, we're even feeling that pressure with our app partners. Our app partners are more sales, more sales. We'll give you more discounts for more sales. And you have the ability, we all have the ability to double our sales without any new clients or customers, however you refer to them as, if you just take this and give more value to them, take those same clients, those same customers, use this, give them more value, help their, dig in there and help them make more money, with their business, then they can afford to pay you more and do all of this. And, they'll see more value because again, they see, oh, we're actually a partner with them or a business coach or a business consultant. We can help them in so many more ways. So versus going out and again, trying to attract new people, because of course the cost of acquisition for a new person is much more than it is for an existing client. If they're already with you, they already know you, they know your reputation, they love you, hopefully. Otherwise, I'm sure they would leave very quickly and would be happy to buy off you if they knew that it could help their business and how it can help their business.
And I'm going to add to that, that's where in the program, so I kind of look at the levels 1 and levels 2 are sort of your new clients or working with your clients. And then to increase, as you say, for us, instead of getting new clients, now we can start to dig in and let's start looking at things. So yeah, thank you, Geni. I'm like, please help me remember this, right? It's discovery and planning. Yeah. So I'm like, so then we're looking through it. It's, start asking questions. So again, when we look at that end in mind from that scope, what about your people? What about your operations? And there's lots of tools to just, we don't have to recreate the wheel because you have so many tools. We just put our name on them and then run through them, ask them, okay, so what are you doing? And let's plan and then measuring. That was sort of my favorite is the measurement, is how are we measuring this besides just a financial statement? You know?
And again, what are the operational measurements? What can we look at their CRM system, which is where you can get the prospect data, the number of proposals sent out, the number of website hits, all of that stuff should be tracked in some other system. In our case, and Sherry Lee, I know, has this too, you have point of sale systems. Those aren't financial statement generators. Those are the sales engines. And there's a heck of a lot of information in those systems that never even gets over to QuickBooks. And so we need to be doing analysis from there. Where are the customers coming from? Where are we shipping to? What are they buying? What are the demographics around those customers? And we typically ignore that stuff. We just want to get it from point of sale into accounting so we can get the financial statements right. But there's a bunch of work we can do to help those clients get that stuff inside that sales system better functioning so that they can get insights out of it. But also we can help them make it easier for customers to buy through that system. If they're doing e-commerce and web sales, there's a bunch of stuff we can help them do to optimize that. There's just all kinds of things that we can apply our transactional knowledge to add real value to these clients. And it goes way beyond what we do in QuickBooks. It's all those other things that are around it that really are mission critical for many of our clients. And by the time it gets over to the financial stuff, it's almost too late to help improve it.
Well, absolutely. And how you said too, Sherry, that people just want to get their financials. You just want to get those out and get them right. What's the biggest one that we send to clients? Profit and loss. Is that a true picture? Does that, yes, it's a true picture of what it is, but from a client perspective, unless they understand what they're seeing, it doesn't give the information that they want because it does not show cash flow. Again, We all have done this. Well, if it says I made $500,000, why is there only 20,000 in my bank account? Oh, it's sitting in accounts receivables, or which isn't shown on here because you've got to go collect it, or it's sitting in asset purchases that they can't write off at this point. So even those basic financials that everybody thinks they want doesn't give them what they really need and really want.
Well, and learning to then look at those, exactly what you're saying is, and these are things that we all intuitively know, but we don't really, I guess I would say previously, I almost felt I didn't want to ask my clients the questions of, okay, so why is your accounts receivable so high? And then learning the accounts receivable is so high because this person isn't getting the invoices out. Okay, well, let's change. So is it, a people or is it a process issue? We go back to that. So the invoices aren't going out. So it's just asking those things. And this is just in the regular course. So like I now look at when I'm putting something out for a client and I'm bidding on it, I'm now adding 3 hours of time, going, okay, up to 3 hours of being able to ask to say, okay, let's have a meeting. So then just quickly go through these things, is this, so your accounts receivable person doesn't like calling or doesn't have the time? Why? So how can we automate this? What about changing to this other system that as soon as the bill comes from Ecos into QuickBooks, you have their credit card in and it's pulled that night. They don't have to do anything. It's always paid, and we can reduce that accounts receivable. Then you actually have money in the bank instead of it sitting in your AR. Like I said, those are all things I always felt previously. Yeah, I could talk a little bit, but I didn't really want to talk about them because I felt that was the accountant's job. When in fact, I'm in the books every day. I know more than the accountants do.
And CPAs or whoever, EAs we have in the US that do taxes, they don't look at this stuff. They don't care about anything but what's on the trial balance. They're not asking these questions. So don't assume that somebody that has some extra initials behind their name is doing all the right stuff, because it's not true. We're not trained. I'm a CPA and we weren't trained in this stuff. And so we're not looking at it, and we're so busy doing, the crappy stuff that we have to do with the taxes and all that baloney, and get the gap stuff applied and all that stuff, and sign all the letters that say it's not our fault if your numbers are wrong, and all that stuff that we have to do. We don't have time to ask, and we don't know what to ask, and we don't know what to do if we do ask and they tell us they need something either. So it's an opportunity when you're in there. To me, that's why I started a bookkeeping business, because to me, that's where all the action is. That's where all where the opportunities to make a difference are. And that's what's fun. It's not fun to just sit there and give somebody a tax return. And this is where we can really make an impact. That's why I called my business the Impactful Advisor, because I believe we're all doing this so we can make a difference in the world. And I think this is how we do it. By asking questions, by helping them find the info they need to answer those questions, by helping them create measurements that let them see that they've improved something on the path to whatever their financial goal is, and by engaging people in the company in supporting their goals and reaching their financial results and outcomes. But it's really a group activity. And again, I care about those line workers. A bunch of my friends who like to do CEO kind of consulting and stuff and work with just the owner types. But I want to help the small business owners, but it's the people at the front that I want to see empowered, because those people matter and they need our help, and we want to keep them employed and also make them feel important and valuable, because we've all been in that seat. We've been that employee that felt completely disconnected from whatever was going on in the company, and it's no fun, and you don't get great work out of people that way. And with these tools, we can empower those people, educate them, and support them in being successful themselves, and then help that support whatever's going on in the business. So it's really a team sport that we're trying to build. And it's one of the things that I look to when I'm looking at prospective clients. If they don't believe that employees matter, if they don't treat their employees fairly and trust them to have good insights, then they're not the kind of client I want to work with. Because you're not going to be able to do anything. You can't just get the owner to create things that they impose on people and have it be successful. So don't waste your time trying to get those people to move the needle on their business, because they can't do it alone, even if they think they can. So that's one of the things that we learned. Does anybody have any questions we need to address?
Yeah, so I'll pop up the second poll, and anybody, if you
Okay.
want to speak, either raise your hand, like if you've got something you want to say, a comment, a question, anything, we'll bring you on camera. If you'd rather not, go ahead, type it in, and we can just read it out loud, or type something in the chat that, you know, you've got something you'd like to be brought on, and we can bring it into, again, make it more interactive. And while we do that, I'm going to bring up,
So I'm going to say, I believe the secret sauce is more the asking, the why, the questions leading through, going through, here is those things, and learning how to do it in sort of a, I don't want to say methodical, but in something that starts to make sense. You ask the question, what do you want? What's your goal? It's what we all do in January. What's our goal? You know, how much weight do we want to lose? And then you work backwards. You know, here's the plan of what I got to do. I need to exercise. I need to clean the fridge out. I need to get, you know, all of those kind of things happening.
And then somebody to hold you accountable every week to ask you, how did you do? And then if you didn't do okay, then let's make some other changes. What we need.
Absolutely. So just, sorry, the poll, just reminder, you need to answer both polls in order to qualify for your CPD. And it's, do you currently offer advisory services? Yes, no, or what are advisory services? So we've still got a few people left. So Sabine says she can't wait to get started, Geni. She's been looking forward to something like this for a long time. So Sabine is in your next class, correct?
The next cohort that's starting up this month. Yes.
Right. And do you, I thought I saw something or remember something that you had something special to announce.
I have a scholarship opportunity for one person in the cohort that's starting with Sabine at the first class is going to be October 24th, but that's going to be not based on the materials. This is actually a communication class that I'm adding into the core training. But you have to, you can send me an email, Geni@theimpactfuladvisor.com, and tell me why you want to get this training, what you would do differently as a result of training, and a little bit about your story. And also, one of the questions that I'm asking people is, what is your average billing per month per client? Because I want to see what it would be worth to you to add another client at that rate. And if you say you can't afford it, then you don't believe you can add one client, then it's probably not the right program for you.
Yep, absolutely.
So the qualification is write a letter. I actually am going to have Sherry Lee and Tanya help me select the participant, and I've invited Misty Mejia to help me be a judge. I'm going to remove the names, and then I'm going to get a selection committee to determine who's going to get the scholarship, which I will announce at scaling, whether you're there or not. I'll email the recipient as well. And so let me know if you really want to do this, but you don't think you can afford it, and give me your story and, you know, why you want to do it and how you think it can impact you and your clients.
And you know what? That's wonderful that it'll be a blind, but that it's blind as well. I love it when it's blind. So I'm going to close the poll down and just share those results. And 57% yes and 43% no.
That's fantastic. So one of the reasons I added that third thing, what are advisory services, is people call everything advisory now. Everybody's got an advisory training and doing stuff. Sorry, Sabine, only open to people who aren't already in the program. Sorry. Because I wanted to get more people in there to be in the class with you. So that's a special award for those folks. So yeah, so the program is short-lived and ends at scaling. But I want people who believe in themselves enough to think that you can at least get one new client after you commit to 6 months of training together with me and the other folks. Sherry Lee and Tanya are going to revisit the class. They're going to come back and be there in support. I currently have 9 people who have already applied for the scholarship, so I'm getting a lot more people than I even expected. And I'm really excited about that. So there's a lot of interest. So if you want to do it and you don't think you can swing it, then send me an email and let me know your story, and then we'll make the decision on Sunday, the first Sunday of scaling. I'm doing a keynote at that conference. I'm going to announce it from the stage there. So
Sorry.
Please do that. I also have other options. So this is the cohort where it's with me as often as the group decides they want to have it, which I did for the first time with Sherry Lee and Tanya, and I had real questions about whether you needed that, because to me the training is really pretty complete. And what did you two think, Sherry Lee and Tanya?
It was amazing, and I shouldn't say we, I know for sure after like that Friday morning that we did that, I looked forward to it of what am I doing? And because it was Friday to Friday, not a month, it was, okay, here's what I've learned this week. Did I actually, it's kind of like, it's like being in school. I feel it was like doing an MBA program during COVID with my current clients. But it was weekly, almost weekly accountability. So what did I learn last week? What and how did that apply through to my clients? And I would say the biggest thing for me that weekly session gave was confidence. And that's exactly like the biggest thing out of all of this is I think so many of us do little bits of that, but we don't follow it through.
It's not just confidence, but I think it's an accountability. Like take a look at, and I will be sending all of this out as well with the email that will go out with the recording, because we've got about half of the people here, which is great that we're about 50% from those that signed up attending, but there's still another 50% that will be receiving the recording, because everybody knows I always record so they don't have to be here live. But if you take a look at things, that accountability and that group to help you go through, take a look at Weight Watchers, look at AA. They have meetings and support, and that's what makes it, for some people, a lot of people, that's what makes them be able to continue to go through. Some people can learn on their own. Absolutely, I could not have. I would not have done it as quickly. I would have continued to put it off like I have other things. So that forced me to do everything. Then you get in and you get to know Geni even more, because I'd already known Geni and loved her from before this, but then it's like, oh, we can't disappoint her. So we have to make sure the homework is done. And then Sherry and I worked together to, again, like, okay, did you get your homework done? Did you do this? Did you do that? As that group in between. And the way Geni explained certain things was, I got so much more out of it. I know I would not have gotten as much out of the group learning at all. And I've instituted it very slowly, because a lot of I have a surgery coming up shortly. So I was kind of doing some plans I now have a surgery date, so it's November 12th. And so I'm not really officially launching this until the new year. I've already made my money back. And I'm not really doing much to try to push this on clients. It's just coming in slowly, and it is good for any industry. Absolutely. Callie asked that it's good for any industry. It absolutely is, because as Geni and Sherry both said, you don't need to know everything. You just ask those questions and be curious.
And you end up having tools that apply to any industry.
Yeah, so let me just show you a list of, so the group learning is what Sherry Lee and Tanya took, and that includes a year's license to the online training program, plus the systems from me. So I coach you through the materials, and we do a timeline as a group, and we share stuff, and we have assignments, and we work through the material. You can also just get the do-it-yourself training, which has recorded videos and access to all of the tools. The videos are only available when your subscription is active. They can't be downloaded, but you can learn them. It gives you overall conceptual information, and then you download tools, and then there are tutorials for each of the tools. This is a document that lists all of the training materials and what's in there for each module. So there's a getting started module, and it has all of this stuff in it. And you see some of these are videos, some of these are PDFs. This is level 1, what you get in this training, and Edie Osborne records a video where she walks you through the conceptual training, and then these are all the tools for level 1. And then you see here's level 2, and this is all the stuff that you get if you just do the do-it-yourself training, which is $1,500. There's a second option, which is do-it-yourself plus a monthly webinar where I come on and share concepts in the group forum. I pick the topic and try to add an angle to the materials that you cover. The group learning option is the polenta option, which is the online training plus the webinar access plus the coached sessions with me. The group decides when the dates are going to be, and then we decide the timing of each of the sessions and how we're going to spread it out to cover all the materials over a 6-month period. So that's how that's set up. And then there's some other options about the Basset Brigade, which Sherry Lee and Tanya are in, is a follow-on, really implementation support group. Once you've been trained, how do you keep this going and roll it out across your client base? So that's a monthly fee, and that is our discussions that we have together as a group. So, so that's how the materials work. That's the course, and it's on the Impactful Advisor site. I gave you the link, and then the material, the different course descriptions are listed here. The scholarship, if you'll email me at Geni@theimpactfuladvisor.com. I actually have a form that you can complete online that'll be easier than just trying to figure out what you're supposed to say. So email me at that link, and then I'll send you the form that you can complete online if you're interested in doing the big kahuna thing and you don't think you can fund it right now.
I want to say the very first thing we did that you do not have in here was learning our own communication styles.
Yeah. Because
this entire program is about actually communication, which is why this whole thing was just us talking. And that was huge. Really understanding, kind of knowing I'm an A-type personality, but understanding ways to communicate with other people who are an A or people who are not an A, or and seeing, you know, oh, this person just wants quick this, so that they can make an answer fast. So don't go using these tools or asking these questions because they're going to get bored. So to me, that was a real bonus that is not shown in there.
Yeah, so that's the first session. And if you, so Sabina's doing that on the second Friday, I think, a week from, I don't remember what the day, a week from Friday, I believe. And then if somebody joins in after that, I will do those again. I will do additional DIS sessions because I want, to me, it's, you can't do the rest of the stuff without understanding who you are, how you communicate, and understanding how to communicate with different types of clients.
Absolutely.
So that's something I add to the materials as well for the people who are in the group training.
Okay, so Karen asked, how often are the group learning programs started?
I try to do 2 a year. I don't know what my schedule will be for next year. I'm also doing a large firm rollout. I have a large firm that I've coached through all year that's dedicated to just that firm. So they have a bunch of people in their firm doing it at once. So I have a lot to coordinate. But I do at least once a year, but it's not guaranteed that I can do more than that.
Right. And then I just also wanted to point out too, for those people, because as Sherry Lee mentioned, it is equivalent to an MBA. The knowledge that we are walking away with is absolutely equivalent to that. And Geni, you are going to have this accreditation. Is that correct?
That's right.
Yeah.
There's an additional accreditation provided. So once you finish the training, you get the level 5 certified advisor designation, assuming you pass the exam. That's part of the course curriculum. So you get that certification first. But I wanted a certification that required you to actually not just learn it, but actually do it with clients. And so I added a accredited impactful advisor certification for people who have successfully used this with multiple clients and then are able to create a testimonial about what it means to them and how it's impacted their clients. And you guys have both completed that now, I believe.
Awesome.
Sherry Lee and Tanya just completed all the requirements on that as of the testimonial that you submitted. So I've got to get that certification to you. So
perfect.
Yes.
So
again, I want impact. I want to make an impact on the profession, on the accounting and bookkeeping, and again, whatever you want to call it. I don't want to just teach people and not have them do anything with it. I want to see the results of what you guys were able to learn and do and change the world in a big way. So I've got to get on to another call. I know you guys probably have the same thing. Thank you.
Absolutely, because we went a few minutes over. So thank you very much. And then you guys will all see soon the AIA letters after the CPB for both Sherry and I.
Yeah.
Anyway, thank you very much. If anybody has questions, feel free to reach out. I will be emailing in the recording. I will email all the links, Jeannie's email address. If there's any questions you guys want to talk to Sherry Lee or myself, just reach out. We're happy to give you anything, any information on it. And we've told Jeannie that we're not letting her go. She has to keep staying with us forever and ever and ever. It's just that awesome. So
it's mutual. I don't want to let you guys go either. Thank you. So
okay, well, thank you very much,
Sherry
Jeannie.
Lee, for having me.
Thank you, everyone.
Great work and for doing great things for your clients.
Awesome. And thank you. Okay. Have a great day, everybody. Bye.
Bye.